Okay, so I want to give quite the disclaimer as far as this deck profile and the next one I'm going to be doing, and that these are two very tier 2 decks. Like, maybe, I won't say tier 3, they're actually pretty fun and pretty okay, but the reason why I say this is because the leaders that are out right now and running around and running rampant with flute and being blue, or just having a lot of meta defining things that are helping with it. Right now we're kind of in that phase where everybody wants to win and are very afraid. I don't want to say afraid, but very hesitant to go into a different leader and try to find success with that. And I tend to do that because naturally contrarian. And the other part is that honestly, it's just more fun to do it this way, to understand where I can take a certain leader and what I can do with certain cards, basically. And that's just like half the fun for me. Honestly, that is just like half the fun, is to figure out what I can do and what can I do to beat that and be a little anti-meta. Anyway, so let's get into the deck. So this one is the energy burst Son Goku, and it's mono blue. So if you didn't know what the leader is a attack leader card, draw one, shout out to Eggman. And this one is very generic. You attack, you let them awaken. It speeds up the game a little bit. If they're awakened before you, that's even better, because now you have a free draw in which you don't have to waste any cards. In order to do that, you just have to attack their leader card with your leader card. It's not that bad when you really think about it. He is a flip 2 to switch to active, and which is okay. I mean, it works for this deck in my opinion. And then when this card attacks, you draw one, and if you have 4 or less in your card, 4 or less cards in your hand, you draw one more and it gains 5k. So now you draw 2, and instead of like the burst attack Gohan, which is in this deck, of course, kind of revolves around that too, it is a 20k striker for free and 2 cards. So pretty cool. The reason why I wanted to get this guy going and to really understand or try him out and have fun with him is because of his awakened leader effect. Because yeah, the unawakened side is pretty underwhelming, but the awakened leader side is actually pretty good, and I feel like it really helps when you center around Zeno and etc. So this is the deck. If you came to see the deck, you already saw it. There you go. I'm going to explain all the cards and why I picked them. And explain that for that as well. So here's the deal. So the first 2 to 3 turns, maybe even 4, is about dealing damage to your opponent and defending on whatever they have. So you have a lot of defense options. You have a lot of options to swarm the board and low cost options to keep those plays going. And then there's Zeno. And Zeno really helps this deck and against really any other deck. The only thing that's gonna be a threat is a yellow leader, and nowadays Frieza army leaders aren't really seen, even though they're still pretty good. I mean, people just kind of moved, and I always tell people, like, yeah, the meta needs to be fixed for certain things, but even if you ban errata or anything else like that, the meta shifts, so people will just shift to blue things or blue leaders. Anyway, so Scientist Fu is here because of the low cost count. So the goal of this deck is to keep it low and to keep it there. He has a Overwhelm 7 energy for 1. I only played 2 of them, even though most of the time when you need to see it, you see it. 3 of them might be kind of pushing it because you don't want to use it as energy and you don't want to use it as combo or anything else like that. It's kind of like but pushing this to 3 because you are Zenoing most likely on the 4th turn or with 4 energy might be a good idea. So that way there's a higher chance for you to see this after the Zeno, and then you get to play it, draw 2, play another card or something else like that, draw with the leader, etc, etc. So just a thought, I would throw it out there. But he is a game ender. He is a pressure maker, especially after a Zeno. Most of the time they're gonna have 4 life or awakened or even less, and then they don't want to take that damage, especially since you have other plays to go through, especially if you have a Champa and bring him down to 2 and then combo out your hand, especially if you're drawing 2 more after the Zeno. You get the idea. So Zeno, the playing god. So the reason why I say this really revolves around Zeno is because when you do flip over and 2 to active, you have a couple choices. So most of the time, what I would say, which is why Vados might be an option in this too, is because you want this man on the board and just chilling. So you run 4, so that way if you use it to self-awaken for whatever reason, which you can, there's no issue with that. Or if you want to play it on critical pressure when they're sitting at 6 life or something like that, you can do that. But you do want this man to be on there, so that way the next turn you have 2, 3, 4 energy, and then use the chain attack trunks to Zeno, and then awaken, untap 2. Now you have 4 energy instead of hard casting Zeno, or yeah, hard casting chain attack trunks into the Zeno and doing that all over again. Because now you only have 2 energy, and that's not good. You really want 4 energy, in which you can play like a Kaba or like a Burst Attack Gohan for 3 energy, or a Fu, and then combo out into your hand, put on pressure for double strike, and then attack with the leader, draw 2, and then play something else. You get that idea. But that's basically what it is. Like you're gonna have to keep the trunks on board and alive, just as for anything. And if you want to use this as a turn 1 play, you can, especially if you're going first. Most people aren't even going to try to remove him unless you're playing against like something like Control or something else like that. But even by then, the Zeno will kind of mess them up. Kaba, it's kind of the same thing. I personally would play the Kaba before the trunks at any time. So if you're going to be mulligan, or mull for another one, is that the verb for it? If you mull for nothing, for more cards, I'm going to go with the Kaba, mainly because you really want to put more cards in their hand and take their life. Like Kaba is kind of in the foreshadow, but still played obviously to put on pressure, especially when they're awakened. But early in the game, people don't play it. But personally, I would play this, so that way you can set up for chain attack trunks and Zeno. So that way, let's say if they have 12 cards, 6 life, you swing for Kaba, and then the next turn you Zeno, and now they wasted all those cards. Yeah, there you go. But that's really what it is. You're gonna have to use the Kaba, so that way you put some more cards in their hand, and then Zeno. Unending Awakening. There you go. You negate the attack for 1 energy, or 1 red energy, and then choose one of your red Saiyans, which he is. It gains 5k for the duration of the turn. It's basically a Ghetto Senzu, and for negate instead of a activate main. I actually like this one comparable to Senzu in certain situations, because you can negate the attack, especially if they're putting a lot of pressure on, especially if they're using a lot of 1-drops, and you're awakened, so that way they have to combo out. One thing that's always people tend to forget is that people don't like to waste cards. So if you use the Senzu or Unknown Awakening and you're sitting at 20k, their attackers at 15k, they have to waste at least 1 to 2 cards in order for their attack to go through. And with double shot Vegeta and your super combos, all this other stuff, I think that's gonna be a good choice to do, a good choice to use. Anyway, so charging up Goten, Son Goten, this one, and as well as the Extra Strike Goten, are pretty much the only flex options in my opinion in this deck. I really wanted to make these good, and I really wanted to make these useful, and I think they are. If you're not going against something super hyper aggro that is constantly trying to overwhelm you, this is really good. Because what happens is that when you play this card, you may choose 1 card from your hand, which helps for the awakened side for the leader. Hey, see, synergy. And then place it in the drop area, and then choose up to 1 of your energy, switch to active mode. So now you have a 2k, 15k with 1 extra energy and the potential to use your awakened effect. And then I'll just skip over here. He actually evolves with this guy for 2 energy, which is actually pretty nifty. 1 energy would be even more busted, but he has a 4-drop for 20k, and now he actually has dual attack by permanent, and his permanent is 4 or less cards in your hand. If you have 4 or less cards in your hand, again, more synergy. You have he gains 5k and attacks, and it can attack battle cards that are in active mode. So it's no Jiren, right? It's no what's the new one? In the new whatchamacallit, Ultimate Box Gohan, right? And that might be a flex option for you if you want to pay 3 energy instead and try to attack things in active mode. If you didn't know what I'm talking about, let me go ahead and go over here. It's just gonna take a second. That is this one, Victoria Straight Gohan. If your leader card is red, you can attack battle cards that are in active mode, and then if you KO one, they have to take 1 life. So pretty cool if they have if they went Well, yeah, if they have a 5k on board that's just chilling, and just not doing anything else, is just chilling, is just and now they have to either counter or defend against it, so that might be an option for you. But these two with the leader effect, it's not bad. I mean, honestly, it's good synergy. I keep saying that. Divine Antipodos, this is just a super combo. I mean, you can use Handy Giro if you want to. Burst Attack Gohan. So this one is really good. I mean, this is why this bad boy is $12 to $15, and I really want to. I honestly want to. I should have done this before, but I should have started listing out the prices and do a video on it, and then do another video on it as far as the prices a month later, and see if the hype has died down or anything else like that. But right now, as it stands, they're 12 to 15, I believe, for non-foil, and then 15 or more for foil. I only have like 2 of them, so cool, I guess. Here's a critical 15k 3-drop. Of course, is 2 red. It's not a problem in a mono red deck. When this card attacks, if you have 4 or less cards in your hand, draw 2. Again, more synergy for this. So what happens, what you gotta do is actually play this card, attack with the Gohan. If you have 4 energy, it'll probably be ideal. And then you Champa after you draw 2. If you have 4 or less, which you should have anyway. Or you can just let him sit and just sit there and just leave an energy open. Or when you do that, use the Champa, go for 25 or even more, because you might want to use 2 more cards, and then awaken, awaken on the top 2, and then attack with the leader, draw 2 more. So a lot of good draw. It's just a different way to do it. Like you know, it's different from like red is the only one that doesn't have a 1-drop draw. That's one thing to consider, and you just got to get the draws elsewhere. So we got 4 double shot Vegeta's, perfect turn 1 play, especially again if you're not going something against something hyper aggro. If they're attacking you, especially with the leader or something else like that, you kind of want to reserve your life until a little bit later, so that way you can take it with the 1-drops. But yeah, using this guy after they attack on their initial turn, if you're going first and they go second, is really good. So that way you can build up a board and keep building it up, attack with them, make sure they take some life, and then Zeno later. Same thing for Champa. Even if you don't have a critical either from Trunks or Gohan, it's still pretty cool. I feel like it's going to be a good thing. This one gives double strike after you pay 1 energy and 10k, or get 10k. Already went over this guy. This guy, again, unbreakable, really good for draws, really good for defense. This might be a flex option too. There are other options in which you can take, but again, keeping this model red, I think this is not that big of a deal. Again, helps with defense, helps with everything else like that. I only have 2 topos, so when you play this card, you negate the attack, you have to pay 2. If you have, if yours or your opponent's energy is 15k or more, it reduces by 2, you pay 2. And when you attack a card and KO it, a battle card, you switch this bad boy to active mode. I only have 2 because I hate wasting 2 energy. It's just so like, ugh. I don't want to. Oh. So if you do use it, definitely use it if they're awakened and you have 2 energy. That's pretty common nowadays. I would use it then, and then just let yourself take the rest, especially if it's not crit. But yeah, Unending Awakening, a lot more useful right now, in my opinion. Chain Attack Trunks, we run 4, so that way it's no big deal if you charge 1, no big deal if you drop 1, no big deal, etc., etc. So that way you can consistently get off Zeno and all that. So again, if you didn't know, he can attack battle cards in active mode. You evolve for 2, so this is the target for that. And when you play this card, you choose 1 of your battle cards with 15k or less. So that can be half the cards here, honestly, because that could be charging up Son Goten, and then you can untap 1 with a drop. You can do Burst Attack Gohan, which is actually really good. I've done that a few times already, in which I'm unawakened, and if I don't have the Zeno, then I have 4 energy. I can hard cast him, play the Burst Attack Gohan. Now I have like 3 or 4 cards in my hand. I can either swing with him for critical, or awaken, draw 2, or untap 2, use whatever I got from the draw, play it, or even combo with it, and then draw 2 again with the leader. Really cool. And then Miraculous Comeback Gohan. He has double strike. If you have 3 cards or less, again, very much so, focusing on this less cards or such type of thing, especially good against, you know, hand destruction. Sometimes. When you KO card, you inflict 2 damage to the opponent. Really good, especially against like these aggro decks. You can play this pretty much at any time because you are mono red, and if you are just chilling and don't really have any cards, or you've been defending and using double shot Vegeta and lowering your hand, that is exactly what you need to do. You need to make sure to play this man, swing at a 5k, and see if they can counter, which they usually don't if they're super aggro, and then combo out, or else they have to take 2 damage, which is very detrimental in a lot of today's decks. That is the deck profile. Yay, we're done now. So, my thoughts on this. I'm playing this for a while. I made this back on the 20th. I've been playing it ever so often for since then, and been changing it ever so often. This is about as best as I can get it, being mono red. If in my opinion, I feel like there's a lot of options in mono red, but for me, this is best as where I can get it. And I'm up for criticism. If you have this leader, if you've been using this leader, I personally have not seen anybody else use this leader, like straight up in locals or untap or anybody else. I've seen it maybe once, and I don't see any other deck profiles for it. So I am more than happy to start that trend and see what people can come up with. He is kind of a mediocre leader compared to Pan, compared to trying to figure out other. I'm just gonna look at it. I'm just gonna go look at it. So Pan definitely is gonna be the alternative. She is a defensive and offensive threat, and has a lot of draw. Vados and Hit might get some play in these upcoming metas. This Son Goku, I feel like some people can make this good, honestly, especially with the double strike. Plus he has 5k on the unawakened side. Vegeta, very niche. Khalifa is also another red leader, so that's another reason why this guy's not really getting too much light. Baby, but again, self-awakening is not that big of a deal right now. Baby is a huge hyper right now. A lot of people are trying to make him good. Kefla is going to be a really good one in the later time. Kale is like a subpar version of Khalifa and Kefla. Champa, I'm sure people can be spicy about that. These guys, not really. And this guy, I already tried. Don't even ask about him. And then Vegito's was just Vegito, so no one really plays Vegito, so don't even worry about that. That's the deck profile. Let me know what you think. Like, dislike, comment. Let me know. I'm dying to hear what your thoughts are. And I'll see you in the next one. Later.